Joined by, oh, where did Russell go? You're back. Okay, I'm joined back by Russell, Texas Bentley, because I would like to get some update from you, Russell, being there on the ground. What is happening there? Because there has been a lot of progress as far as Russia, proclaiming certain territories, right? So how is the situation? Tell us. I'm all ears.
Okay. The situation is continuing to escalate, actually. What's happening is that Russia is making good progress as far as liberating territory of Ukraine. The denazification and demilitarization is continuing on schedule. They're making very good progress, in fact, but the Nazis who are led and commanded and armed by the West, US and NATO, have now instigated the policy of terrorist bombing of civilian areas of our cities, particularly Donetsk. In the last few days, the bombing has been very, very heavy. Since the beginning of June, they started targeting civilian areas, schools, hospitals, apartment buildings, and it's only increased since then. Yesterday, 5 people were killed in Donbass, including a 10-year-old girl. They were killed with the French-supplied Caesar artillery. The Ukrainian Nazis have been using the American-supplied M777 155 millimeter artillery, and they've been bombing the city very, very heavily. They're also using a lot of ballistic missiles against the city. Our air defenses are working very hard. I would say last night they probably intercepted like 20 missiles and drones and unmanned aircraft. So it's a real provocation when people here, people in Russia, see civilians, especially children, murdered in intentional terrorist attacks. It makes them very angry and they want to hit back, and everybody's like, well, let's go blow up Kiev and stuff like that. But really, that's exactly what our enemies want us to do, is to escalate. Because the thing is, at the pace that we're going at right now, we're winning very well. We've reduced our casualties. We've reduced civilian casualties. We've reduced damage to civilian infrastructure. And so strategically, we are progressing very well, not only in the military war here, but also in the economic war, which is a real war too, and the bigger picture, and actually the main battlefield, which is the economic war between the West and Russia and China right now. And Russia is also winning that war. I mean, there's going to be a genuine famine in Europe this year. There's going to be an energy crisis. People are not going to be able to pay to heat their homes and or buy gasoline for their cars, and that's going to be, it's like economic sanctions, and they can be as deadly as military war. So Russia is winning that right now. Russia has military security. We have financial security. The ruble, in spite of all the sanctions, is actually right now the strongest performing currency in the world. And so we've got that. We've got food security. We've got fuel security. I mean, the price of gas right now in Donetsk is 23 to 24 rubles a liter.
In dollars, how much this would be if you convert?
Well, that's about $2 a gallon, a little less than $2 a gallon. And you compare that to $5 or $6 or $7 or $8 a gallon in the United States, and probably even more in most of Europe. So,
can I ask you, Russell, what is the average salary for people in that area? Because that's also important, like average.
Well, around here right now, it's I think most people probably bring home for like a 40-hour week, probably $300 or $400 a month.
Okay, so
which isn't much, but
like in Poland, it's kind of similar. But let me ask you this situation with them terrorizing the civilians, okay? I would like to know your opinion, your thoughts, how much longer they will be able to continue with this, when this will end.
Well, right now, the Lugansk People's Republic is completely liberated. They've had very good progress there in the last few days. They've killed and captured a lot of Ukrainian military soldiers and destroyed a lot of their equipment. And now that frees up a lot of our guys that were working in Lugansk to now come to Donetsk. We're going to close around. We're going to encircle what's left of the Ukrainian army in Donbass. And it's going to be, I mean, the outcome is already inevitable. You know, they're running out of ammo. They're running out of food. There's desertions, both by soldiers and by officers, going on every day. They're surrendering every day. And so it's, you know, our victory is assured. And that's why they're doing this, you know, this provocations to trying to get us to escalate, you know, so then they can say, oh, we need to send in troops from NATO or da-da-da. And so basically we're sticking to our guns. It's very difficult, of course, but, you know, the strategic objective cannot be put aside just because of, you know, emotional or personal feelings.
Yes. So how far you think Russia will go as far as liberating the regions?
Well, I don't think that they'll do anything less than a line from east of Kiev along the Belarusian border in the north down to the northern tip of the Moldovan border. If you look on a map, there's a straight line basically between those two. It is on the other side of Kiev. It is on the other side of the Dnieper River. And so, you know, it's, you know, there's going to be some tough going there in the center. But if they take anything less than up to Kiev, then really, you know, it was kind of a pointless thing, because they're looking for, you know, a strategic buffer zone between NATO and Russia. And they have it with Belarus on the north. They have it with Moldova on the south. But they need to have it at least along the same line in Ukraine. So I think that Kiev will be the minimum.
Okay. So I want to ask you on this now. This level of sacrifice of Ukrainian soldiers, because that's what happens to those men, right? They just pretty much go to die.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. And I want to ask you, if you come across, like I just heard yesterday on one channel that they are even recruiting this in Odessa. No, I'm sorry, Lvov. We say in Polish, Lvov. They are going to churches, requiring men within certain age group to join Ukrainian army, which is breaking every possible. I mean, they are just desperate, let's say. So I want to ask you, Russell, in your life at this situation, have you come across any of those soldiers? Have you ever had any conversation with those people that still actually survived that army? Mm-hmm. If you had a chance to talk to them, and if you did, what did they tell you?
Well, I want to say first that not only are they now having another forced conscription draft for men from 18 to 60 in Ukraine, they're also now requiring women to be drafted. And this is something that's just happened in the last week, and they're basically saying any woman between 18 and 60 that isn't pregnant or doesn't have kids under 3 years old is going to be required to serve. They're saying basically, and you understand that this is, of course, exactly what would be expected, because Ukraine does not have a government. They are controlled by the United States, and the old saying about Washington will fight Russia to the last Ukrainian, you know, it's not a joke. It's not like, you know, some cliche. It's really true, and this is proving that exactly right there. there are women already that have been conscripted and forced to go to the front. The guys that they're conscripting, they're not even getting any training. They have second-rate weapons. They're very unprepared. They have zero training, and they're going against, some very tough, battle-hardened troops that aren't messing around. So it's really, it's really a very evil and disgusting thing that they're doing there. And it goes to show exactly a lesson that Europeans and Americans should learn from, is that, the people who own and control the governments of the U.S. and EU, Canada, the Britain as well, they care nothing at all about their citizens, and they will do to the citizens of North America and EU exactly what they're doing to the citizens of Ukraine, because this really is part of a program for depopulation, and war is a very effective depopulator.
Yes. But now it looks like they are gathering those forces, military forces, in form of people from the western side of Ukraine, which is not affected by, there is no military operation going on in that side. It's the east side, right? So they are actually pulling people from the other side of Ukraine.
Well, it should be remembered that the western part of Ukraine is where the real Slava Bandera hardcore Nazis are from, and a lot of those guys have already volunteered, many of them years ago, and have been working in eastern Ukraine, shooting people from Donbass, Russian, ethnic Russian, stuff like that. But also, there have been some very heavy missile strikes against places in western Ukraine that are military depots, a place that was a gathering place for foreign mercenaries got hit, and hit hard, with multiple ballistic missiles, killed 150 mercenaries, which, that was what it was intended to do. And, so western Ukraine, to a much lesser degree, but has also experienced some, some military operations against it, but the thing is, there's not enough soldiers, there's not enough weapons, even if NATO gives all their weapons to Ukraine, to change the outcome of this operation. Russia will succeed. They're using, 10 or 12 or at the maximum 15% of their military power against the Ukrainian army. And in fact, they're advancing, and when in military doctrine, generally, it's like a law, a rule, that if you're going to assault something, a defended position, you need to have 3 times as many men as the defenders in order to have a reasonable expectation of victory. And in fact, Russia and DPR and Republican forces have been advancing actually less than 1-to-1. So it's not 3-to-1, it's not even 1-to-1, and yet we're still advancing. Of course, we have a big advantage in artillery and air power and missile power that we are using, and to good advantage, but we're winning this war with, maximum 15% of Russia's military power. And so, as I've said before, Russia can handle the Ukrainian army in Ukraine. It can handle Ukraine plus NATO in Ukraine, and it can handle NATO in Europe if it has to, and it will if it has to. You understand that really NATO right now is a paper tiger. The English army is a joke. They have maybe 100 tanks in the whole army. The only thing that they have is nuclear weapons, and it's kind of scary because it seems like what they might be planning to do is to, give all their conventional weapons to Ukraine, and when they either get captured or destroyed, then they're going to say, well, we still have to fight Russia. We don't have any conventional weapons. We're going to have to go to nukes. And that's how the end of the world comes about. Because, I believe it was Dmitry Medvedev. If it wasn't him, it was another very high Russian government official said the other day that if things go nuclear, the first place we're going to bomb is London. And they have a Sarmat missile that's got 100 megaton warhead that can create a tsunami that will wash away the entire island of England.
Yes, actually, he said that they will, I'm not quoting correctly, but they will attack or they will target the point of decision making. So this actually could be London, and it could be
that was a quote by Vladimir Putin, who said we will also target the decision making. But in the last week, another high Russian government official has specifically said, he said, if things go nuclear, the first thing we're going to do is take out all the Western satellites, and the first city that we're going to hit is London. And he said London specifically. And I've been to London, and, I think it'd make a great target.
So, Russell, let me ask you this. Now, we have Donetsk People's Republic. We have Lugansk, right? People's Republic?
Yep.
What is next?
Well, what's going to happen now is we're going to close in along the Donbass front. There's probably somewhere between 50 and 80,000 Ukrainian soldiers still along that front. We're going to surround them and close in where they're not going to be able to get resupplied. They're not going to be able to escape. They're not going to get any more food or weapons. And then they'll either surrender or die. We surround them. They're stuck in a certain place. We start hitting them with artillery 24/7 until they raise the white flag.
How do you see the winter? Because I feel this will continue because Russia is not in rush, and this is strategically moving forward steadily. Mm-hmm. Do you think this will go into winter? And how that winter would look like if that's the case?
And there's no way of telling. And I don't have any secret inside information, but if I was a Russian general, say, I would expect that once the military concentration along the Donbass front is neutralized, that things will start happening a lot quicker than they have so far. I think the Russians will be able to take it'll start moving westward at a much more faster pace.
Okay.
They can go around, the few major cities, Dnipropetrovsk being one. I think in Zaporozhye, there's a couple of big cities too. They can just go around those, keep heading west, and probably what they'll do is at the same time, they'll again come in like they did towards Kiev at the beginning, and because once they take Kiev and the majority of the Ukrainian army is neutralized in Donbass, they can start concentrating on Kiev. Once they take Kiev, it's pretty much a done deal. I really believe that Russia has already made an agreement with NATO that they're not going to go all the way to the Polish border, and that once they take their strategic objectives, that then they're going to allow NATO to come in to a certain extent, as long as they don't shoot at any Russians. If they come in and start shooting at Russians, then all bets are off, and it's a real war between NATO and Russia. But if NATO comes in and just basically flies the flag and says, "Oh, we stopped Putin in his tracks," to save face politically, but with no real, because as you probably know, there's really nothing of any worth or any value, west of Kiev in Ukraine. It's farmland and Nazis. And so Russia doesn't really want or need that. It's going to have its hands full, repairing and rebuilding what it does take under its, patronage, You know, because I mean, it's not taking it under its control. Russia's not going to occupy Ukraine. It's going to denazify, and then it's going to allow the people of Ukraine to make their own decisions politically and like that. And Russia will help economically, as it already is tremendously in places like Mariupol.
So Russell, that's the most fruitful land, productive land is the east side of Ukraine, right? And I want to ask you now about two things. First is about the Black Sea situation. And the second is about how that restoration process is going on right now when they are still creating those provocations in that regions.
Well, I can guarantee that Odessa will be liberated. Western Ukraine, whatever part of it doesn't come under Russian protection, will be a landlocked country. They're not going to have access to the Black Sea anymore. Odessa is a historically Russian city, and it will be liberated. That's guaranteed. I mean, I think once the Donbass front is taken care of, I think it'll be a two-prong attack towards Odessa and towards Kiev. You know,
so
but
no access to Black Sea at all.
No. That's they've screwed that up. They're not gonna have any access to the Black Sea, and it's gonna be, you know, and like you said, all the good industry, all the good natural resources, all the good fertile farmland is in the east, and so, you know, that's going to be ours. We're not stealing it from anyone. We're just protecting it from the people that were stealing it. You know, I mean, you know, since this war began back in 2014, when the U.S. took over the Ukrainian government, you know, they've destroyed so much of Ukraine. They've clear cut the Carpathian Mountains and sold the timber to Europe. You know, they've imported nuclear waste and toxic waste and just dumped it in the forests. They're one of the major hubs for human trafficking and human organ trafficking in the world today. You know, I mean, they've just robbed and destroyed everything. They destroyed the education system. They destroyed the medical system. You know, I mean,
it's amazing the spirit of the people that still stay strong, and they still, like, you see those babushkas and they don't give up. They just don't. It's their land, and it's, you know, that's what I always say also to the people who watch me, to my viewers. The spirit is the most important, really, because it keeps you going and it gives you strength and hope, right? It's like how these people went through all of this, and now on the top of this, well, this is ending really for that suffering, but still they are going through suffering, right, Russell?
Sure, yeah, it's been very hard. I mean, it's World War II style battles, you know, heavy armor fighting against each other, artillery. In many ways, it's like the Great Patriotic War was for these people again. But just as their grandparents did that survived, these people are survivors too. They understand, you know, that this is a war between good and evil, and they understand that they're on the right side, and so they're never going to surrender, you know. I mean, you can be killed and still not be defeated. Mm-hmm. As long as you don't surrender, you're not defeated.
Mm-hmm. So true. So tell me, before I let you go, how is your situation? You're safe, your family is safe, your friends and relatives, how is everything? Is everything okay?
Well, it's a very serious situation here too. You know, I mean, we've been very lucky so far. My wife's father's garage got direct hit by artillery shell, blew up his garage, blew up his car. There's been two houses on our street, which is only, you know, maybe 300, 400 meter long street. At least two houses have been hit on our street in the last couple of months. In fact, there was an impact while my wife and I were working in the garden. I don't know, maybe a month ago. It landed about 300 yards from us, and we heard the explosion, and then a few seconds later, we hear ding, and there was a chunk of shrapnel from that explosion that hit the side of our house. And I mean, we actually found it and stuff. It's about as big as the end of your thumb. I mean, it wasn't going fast enough to really, hurt you, but it was a piece of shrapnel. I mean, so, we've been lucky, and my wife and I, we trust in God, I mean, because it's like, it's like rolling the dice every time you go out, I mean, and it's like the old story about the appointment in Samaria, where the guy sees death in the market, and so he runs back to his boss. He says, I need some money. I have to go to Samaria, get away from death. And the boss goes to the market, and he sees death, and he's like, why did you scare my servant? And death says, well, I didn't mean to scare him. I was just surprised to see him here in the market because I have an appointment with him tonight in Samaria. So, I mean, there's the center of the city's getting hit hard, but basically, wherever you are, I mean, I have done this like once so far, and I don't know if I'll do it again, but I went one time during the shelling to the area that was being shelled to make some video. And I doubt I'll do that again because it was really, it was really more dangerous than it was worth. But other than that, unless you're in the area that is specifically getting shelled, you have the same chance of getting hit wherever you are. I mean, people have gotten killed sitting in their living room because the bomb hit their apartment. People get killed sitting outside. People get killed driving down the road. People get killed, walking through the park. I mean, because it's just random shelling, so it's like getting struck by lightning. I mean,
right.
It can happen. You don't want to push your luck, but
But you're protected,
Russell. You have to keep on living.
You're protected.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you too that I've had two good friends, one in May and one in June, who got killed. Were serving in the Army. My good friend Sergei Lasenko, who I've been friends with since 2015. He was a soldier, guitar player, a really great songwriter, and I recorded some songs with him. And he actually had served in 2015 and 16, and then he got out and he worked with the Department of Defense, helping wounded soldiers, to get rehabilitated and stuff. And then when the Operation Z started, he was actually given an exemption from going back into the Army, where he didn't have to go because they said your work here is also strategic. And he said, no, I have to go. I can't look at my neighbors if they're going and I'm not. And he went back and he got killed on the 9th of May, which is Victory Day. I mean, so it was really it's hard and tragic. And then another friend of mine, Alexei, actually my godmother's cousin, and he also used to be the guy that helped me fix my car, my 32-year-old Neva. But he went back into the Army too, and he got killed 2 weeks ago by American shell from American artillery, M777. Him and 3 other guys got killed all at once from one shot. And so, it's like they said back in the Great Patriotic War, every Russian family, lost somebody, and it ain't quite to that extent yet, but, everybody in Donetsk knows somebody that's gotten killed,
Yeah.
And some of us know a bunch of people now, I mean, I've lost at least 10 good friends, soldiers, since I've been here.
It's you know, it's very, very hard to imagine even this for me. But at the same time, I understand that the soul of that person sacrificed in a way. Like this is really, it's difficult conversation to have, but it's on a different level of understanding. I think every life is so precious that no one has a right to take it away. But if someone is killing other people just for the pleasure of doing it and destroying other people's lives, and I mean, you have to put the end to it. You have to stop it, because
Yeah, exactly.
you can't fix that. How you fix that? This is very deeply psychologically rooted evil behavior. Anyway,
Yeah, it's like a dog with rabies or something. And you know, when I was serving in the army here, you know, sometimes these you know, journalists or something would interview me and they'd say, "Well, how many people did you kill?" And I said, "I don't count how many people I killed. I count how many people I saved." You know, and just like, you know, a Nazi is like a mad dog. You can't reason with them. You can't rehabilitate them. You can't appeal to their compassion or humanity. You can only stop them from doing what they're doing and being what they have become, you know. And so, you know, sometimes it just has to be done, you know.
it's
And
soulless, right? It's like soulless, heartless, completely like unhuman.
yeah, I mean and really, you know, when we were capturing these Azov guys down in Mariupol after they surrendered, more than 2,000 of them, you know, I can tell you, and they would check these guys for like Nazi tattoos, you know, and a lot of them had the Nazi tattoos, but a lot of them also had satanic tattoos.
Can I ask you here before I forget?
Mm-hmm.
When you look those people in the eyes, did you have a chance to look them into the eyes?
Yeah,
What did you see, Russell?
I saw somebody that was looking at me, and these guys were prisoners, you know, and I was very happy to be standing there with my pistol while they had their hands tied behind their backs. But it was like, you know, it was like, you know, they were looking at me like a butcher would look at a lamb or something that they were getting ready to slaughter, you know?
Even though they were already captive, right?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I mean, and of course they knew they couldn't, and they knew that they were neutralized, but you know, you could just look at them and understand that if the roles had been reversed,
right,
so they'd have been working on me with a knife.
so you still see the hatred and the aggression and the evil. You don't see like emptiness. You know what I mean? You look and you see nothing in the eyes, like it's empty human.
No, you see evil. You see somebody that still wants to kill, somebody that, you know, if they had the chance, would kill again. I mean, these guys, and it's like, you know, I mean, there's like this one photo that I saw this guy. He had like the goat head and the pentagram across his whole back, you know?
Right.
And I mean, you know, somebody that gets something like that tattooed that big, you know, that's making a commitment to a certain kind of worldview and a certain philosophy that's never going to change, you know?
Yes,
and so
absolutely.
those guys,
yeah,
you know, I mean,
it's like devoting your life to it. It's like a statement. I devote my life to it. Right. But Russell, we will catch up again. I really appreciate you coming back, because I know that people are watching and they want to hear from you. You're there. You know what's going on. Overall, before I let you go, that region where you are has already been liberated, right?
Well, not completely. I mean, the front line is still on the edge of town, about 10 kilometers from here, which is why they're still able to use artillery to shell our cities. That's going to be the next big battle here. But what's happening is, you know, we're coming around from the north and the south. once we get them surrounded, they can, then they have absolutely no hope, only decide whether they want to surrender or die.
Okay.
And that's going to happen pretty soon. The military war will be won here by Russia. That's inevitable. And, the economic war will continue. The political war will continue. And that's the real big war. That's the real war that's already started between the West against Russia, between, Nazis against humanity. And I'm pretty sure we'll win that one too. Of course, Russia will win it, with China as their ally. The only thing that can stop us from defeating the Western fascists is if it goes nuclear, because then everybody loses.
I hope not.
We all hope not. No sane person doesn't hope not.
Yes, but lots of love and protection to you and your family and every person you care about. And we will catch up again in some time, okay? You let me know how everything's going.
To talk to you, I appreciate your audience that's willing to look beyond the fake headlines of mainstream media and understand the truth. I just mentioned that, I highly recommend people that want to find out what's really going on besides just being spoon-fed the usual Western propaganda. There's a VKontakte, which is the Russian version of Facebook, but it's really international. It has over 600 million members. It's huge. It's getting bigger every day as people get tired of all the censorship on Facebook and all the propaganda and stuff there. So VKontakte, or just VK, you can look it up. It's not that hard to sign up. You get yourself a browser with the translator app, and you can turn it all into English in 2 clicks. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, a lot of cool people. It's a better quality of people and a better quality of information and discourse than you find on Facebook, by far. There's another social media called Telegram. Right. That also is very good. It's alternative media. And, you can get on those. Get a VPN, a virtual private network, where you can change your IP address to different countries so you can go around and get, and one of the other things, too, I'll mention is that RT and Sputnik News, which are blocked in many places in the West, they're both on Telegram. So if you get on Telegram, and they're both on VKontakte, too. So if you get on VK, or you get on Telegram, then you have access to news that's literally censored and blocked in the West. And that's worth finding out, because, the West right now, they're doing, when they bombed the city the other day, a British newspaper called the Daily Mirror put the photograph of Donetsk being bombed by Ukrainians with NATO weapons on their front page. And they say, Russia bombs Donetsk. So it's an absolute, abject, black lie, the opposite of the truth. So if you want to find the truth, you got to work for it these days. But in the information age, ignorance, choice. So it's worth working a little bit for, so you can find out what's really going on. So you know what you're talking about, and you know what you need to do.
Thank you so much, Russell. Thank you. And we will connect again not a long time from now. And I hope that that region will be liberated soon, really.
We're working on it. Thank you, Anya, and best of luck, and God bless to you and all your fans.
Thank you for watching, everyone.